Up next is Cyber Strategy Post-Corona session. While the future remains uncertain, the global cybersecurity community is continuing to embrace the new normal. As cyber criminals continue to take advantage of the crisis, it is crucial to start thinking about the future of cybersecurity and how the pandemic is changing the way we strategize cybersecurity methods. Let's welcome Esti Peshin, Vice President and General Manager of Cyber Division at IAI.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Esti Peshin, and I'm the General Manager of the Cyber Division of Israel Aerospace Industries. It is a great pleasure to be here today and to speak with you in Cyber Week online. I'm going to speak about cybersecurity strategy in the coronavirus era and share with you a little bit about the lessons learned during this era. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I'm sure you are aware, there have been many cyber events throughout the years. This slide shows a host of cyber events throughout the years 2015 and 2019. Looking at strategic cyber trends, we see today 6 trends. Number 1, increased state and superpower involvement. Number 2, more and more cybercrime, even in nation states where the crime level is low. We see more and more cyber attacks on critical infrastructures, large-scale industrial espionage attacks, and I will speak about a few of those later on in the presentation. We are seeing CNI attacks. CNI essentially means computer network influence attacks. These are attacks against our minds, against the pillars of democracy. The attackers are trying to influence public opinion. They're trying to influence election results by using cyber attacks. And finally, we are seeing proliferation of malware. It is extremely easy to get your hands on malware if you so desire and to propagate a cyber attack. The cyber strategic trends that we are seeing today are, number 1, the weaponization of the cyber domain. The attackers are utilizing the cyber domain as essentially a weapon. The main challenge in cyber still remains attribution. The lack of attribution essentially creates a situation where there can be no deterrence. If I attack you, for example, and you don't know it has been me, then you can't retaliate. And if you can't retaliate, well, the cost of cyber attack for me is extremely low. And this essentially means that there's no deterrence. You won't think twice if you really want to attack me. There's a skill gap. There are more and more cyber attackers and not enough cyber defenders. But this also entails a huge opportunity because nation states that desire to enhance their economy can basically establish cyber academies and train cyber experts. Now, a cyber expert makes on average $200,000 a year. So if you train enough cyber experts, you can actually move the GDP on your, move the needle on your GDP. And by the way, don't hesitate to speak with us about that. And finally, we're seeing the attackers eyeing new technologies. The attackers are constantly on the lookout for opportunities. We're seeing them eyeing cloud, IoT, and 5G. Now, 5G is already here. 5G is faster. It provides higher bandwidth, provides lower latency. It requires less energy. It provides higher reliability, and it allows to support more devices. 5G is a huge change. It's a paradigm change with respect to 4G. Artificial intelligence is also here. In some cases, it is referred to in, I would say, milder terms like machine learning. But basically, our systems, our machines, our things are making decisions. And the combination of 5G with artificial intelligence includes some inherent threats. Now, critical infrastructures on the whole include several threats. Number 1, there is the connection between the OT and the IT. The IT network is usually the administrative network, whereas the OT network is usually the operational network, and they are connected. A critical infrastructure that will tell you that these networks are not connected probably doesn't understand his network structure. There are systems that are becoming end of life. These systems are not supported anymore in terms of patches and in terms of cybersecurity solutions and are therefore riskier. Software updates are always a challenge because you need to update your systems. This means you need to connect your systems to an external source. Supply chain is king. We rely on external hardware. We rely on external software. So basically, if these hardware and software are not secure enough, then our system is not secure enough. Physical threats are always a challenge. If someone can gain access to your network, they will be able to attack you. And finally, remote access. Today, more and more organizations are allowing remote access for maintenance and health monitoring. This essentially means that there is an outside connection to your network that is outside your control. It's under the control of the vendor. 5G entails a host of threats. Number one, its security is decentralized. The things in 5G are talking to things. They're talking directly. Think about autonomous cars, for example. An autonomous car will not speak to another autonomous car through a central pivot. They will speak directly to each other. This means that each car needs to have its own security. This decentralized security creates a situation where the network is inherently less secure. There's bandwidth overload. As I mentioned earlier, more and more bandwidth. The bandwidth tends to overload the current security tools. We need to change the way we are thinking about cybersecurity for 5G. IoT devices, the things, do not have inherent security. They don't have built-in security. In several 5G networks, there's a lack of encryption. And finally, 5G networks can be utilized for massive botnet attacks. So there is a huge opportunity here for attackers. And today, there is more and more use of 5G for critical networks. As I mentioned earlier, 5G will enable autonomous cars to operate safely. But will they enable autonomous cars to operate in a cyber-secure manner? Another example is what we refer to as the gate link, a connection between a plane to the gate. The plane reaches the gate, downloads a lot of information, and then uploads a little bit of information, and then can fly safely on its route. But the gates change. The planes at the gate change. There is the airport network and there's the plane network. And everything is conducted in a central location without built-in security. This has huge potential for cyber attacks. Let's speak a little bit about the coronavirus era. So the coronavirus era changed the way we are doing business. Guys, I'm speaking to you from my office. If you would have seen the construction we built here, so I will look at the camera directly at you, well, you would have been amazed. We are having a large-scale adoption of work from home. We are working more and more from home. In Israel now, we are in the second lockdown. So at least a certain percentage of us are working from home. We're seeing heightened activities on customer-facing networks, greater use of online services, and we are using more and more our personal devices and email. The adversaries are aware of these opportunities and are abusing this situation. In terms of cyber threats during the coronavirus era, we are seeing more and more phishing attempts. We are seeing more and more scams. A recent report by Panda Security outlined that over the months of March 2020, there was an increase of 400% in scams, 400%. This basically rendered coronavirus as the #1 security threat ever. In April 2020, Google blocked on a daily basis 18 million emails related to malware and phishing emails related to coronavirus. This is, again, huge. We're seeing more and more e-crime, more and more cybercrime. The attackers understand that we are more and more vulnerable during this era, and they are utilizing this to their advantage. We have seen between March and May an increase of 66% in visits to hacker websites. We're seeing hackers targeting healthcare. Now this is extremely cynical in my opinion, because the healthcare ecosystem is trying to treat the virus. They're trying to treat patients. They're trying to find a vaccine for the virus, and then the bad guys are attacking them. So just by way of example, in July, the FBI published an alert about a report trying to target IP from organizations that are developing a vaccine. So cynical. We have seen in April 2020, we have seen 450 active World Health Organization emails that were leaked online, as well as thousands of emails of coronavirus response team emails. Again, this is huge. We're seeing the bad guys targeting remote services. And finally, we're seeing more and more phishing attacks. Now, phishing attacks are attacks that are, you may not refer to them directly as cyber attacks, but they are attacks that are targeting you through phone calls. Someone gives you a call and says, hey, this is so-and-so, speaking from so-and-so, can you provide me your personal details? And more people are falling for these phishing attacks, especially the elderly or the non-cyber savvy. Now, ladies and gentlemen, how should we address these types of attacks? So first and foremost, we must understand that when we are speaking about national grade challenges, we need national grade solutions. We need solutions that incorporate state-of-the-art technology, and I'm very proud that Israel has a host of amazing technology. We need methodology on how to utilize the technology effectively. We need constant innovation because the technology is evolving, and I spoke about 5G, and the threats are evolving as well. So the solutions must evolve as well. You can use the buzzword machine learning or artificial intelligence also with regards to the solutions. We need collaboration. We need to cooperate both on the national and on the international level. We need to share information about threats. We need to share information about solutions. The ecosystem approach must ensure that we are aware of cyber attacks against like-minded or similar organizations in order to mitigate the attacks against ourselves. And finally, capacity buildup, awareness, training, cyber hygiene, extremely important in a global context. The weakest link remains the human. The weakest link remains the person who is unsavvy about potential cyber attacks. The weakest link remains the person who is using his own home network in a work from home method, and this network is protected by a mundane password, such as password, the third most common password today in the world. Now, there's a huge challenge of balancing between cybersecurity and business continuity. We need to work from home. We need to access remote services. We need to be online. But we all understand that these online services entail more cyber threats, and we have seen the growing threats in the coronavirus era. IAI is the leader of two Israeli consortium. IAI practices what we preach in terms of the Israeli ecosystem, and is proud to lead the Israeli Cyber Companies Consortium, the ICCC. This consortium is comprised today of 13 companies, the best and the finest of Israel's cyber ecosystem, and we are able together to offer an end-to-end solution to your cyber needs. IAI is also the leader of the Israeli Aviation Cyber Companies Consortium, IACCC, and provides an end-to-end solution for the commercial aviation ecosystem. In terms of a cyber solution to the coronavirus challenge, we need to consider an ecosystem approach comprising of three elements. Number one, the government and operational element. We need the organizational structures in place, we need operational tools in place, and we need the legislation and regulation to support this framework. The private and public sector must be part of the solution as well in terms of resilience of especially of the critical infrastructures and government entities, awareness campaigns, and information sharing, on which I spoke earlier. And finally, there's the human factor. We need to develop cyber professions, we need to educate for cybersecurity, and we need cyber hygiene. When we are looking at a solution for cybersecurity in the coronavirus era at the national level, we need 6 pillars. Number one, awareness campaigns. Each and every person within the ecosystem must be aware that there is an increase of cyber attacks. Each and every person at the national level must be aware that if they receive an email related to coronavirus, it may or may not be an actual email. They need to be aware not to apply a link just because it's there. They need to be aware that someone may be trying to phish their personal information or to phish their credit card information or to phish their financial information in order to be able to cyber attack them. We need baseline security. This basically means that every important organization at the national level must have a minimal level of security, and this level of security should be mandated at the national level. We need better security solutions for remote work and services. Today, there are many, many solutions out there that do not have sufficient cybersecurity. So number one, better choose the one that do, and number two, better have solutions for the ones that don't. We need predictive analytics. The cyber attacks are still very elusive. They're still very subtle and low signal, and we need the ability to predict them based on indicative signals. We need to protect better the medical ecosystem. This wasn't the number one critical infrastructure before the coronavirus era. It should be the number one critical infrastructure today. And finally, we need the procedures and playbooks. A cyber attack has happened. What should we do? If we distill this into 3 buzzwords, if I may, we need situational awareness. We need the ability to understand at a given moment that the nation state or a certain organization is under a cyber attack. We need advanced incident response capabilities, allowing us to handle a cyber attack once it happened, and we need information sharing. The ability to, on one hand, understand if a certain organization has been attacked, an organization similar to us, what should we do in order to mitigate the attack? And on the other hand, to share information about attacks against us in order to protect similar organizations. And finally, we need to strike a balance between cybersecurity and business continuity. So, ladies and gentlemen, what are the takeaways from this short presentation? Number one, we need an ecosystem solution. Number two, cyber is another pillar in the battle against the coronavirus. There are advanced cyber threats that are becoming more and more advanced. There are built-in vulnerabilities, and we need a collaborative approach, aka information sharing and advanced capabilities in order to combat the virus and to combat the inherent cyber threats that are related to the virus. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, we need to strike a balance between cybersecurity and business continuity. Please don't hesitate to contact us through the various means that the Cyber Week team has provided us to learn more about the AI capabilities and how we can help you protect your nation states. With this, ladies and gentlemen, I bid you goodbye. Stay safe and healthy. Bye-bye from Ashdod, Israel.